In 1972, 3 weeks before his death, Neville Goddard gave his final lecture. He stood before a small audience in Los Angeles. His hands were trembling, not from age, from what he was about to reveal. He looked at his students. Some had been with him for decades, and he said 6 words that made the room go silent. I have lied to you, all of you, for 40 years. The students froze. What do you mean, Neville? He took a breath, and then he said something that made several people stand up and walk out. Something that was never published, never recorded, never distributed, until now. Because in 2019, a box was found in a storage unit. A box that had been sealed since 1972. Inside were handwritten notes, Neville's final words, the teaching he kept hidden, the truth he promised Abdullah he would never reveal, until his last breath. And what those notes contain is the most disturbing, most profound, most reality-shattering teaching ever given. This is Hidden Mind Master, and after this video, nothing will ever be the same. Let me tell you what was in that box. 17 pages, handwritten, in Neville's own script. The pages were titled, The Final Teaching. What Abdullah made me promise never to share. And underneath, in smaller letters, for those who are ready to know, they are alone. The first page begins with a date, November 18th, 1936, the day Abdullah called Neville to his apartment for the last time. The day Abdullah revealed something so devastating that Neville wrote, I wanted to forget. I wanted to run. I wanted to pretend I never heard it. But I couldn't, because once you know the truth, you can't unknow it. And the truth Abdullah revealed that day was this. You are not one consciousness among billions. You are the only consciousness. And everyone else, including me, is you, dreaming yourself into infinite forms, playing every role, living every life alone, completely, eternally alone. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. The notes revealed that Abdullah didn't just tell Neville this. He proved it, in a way that left Neville shaking. He said, Close your eyes, Neville, and tell me what you see. Neville closed his eyes, and he saw darkness. Abdullah said, Now imagine I am standing in front of you. Can you see me? Neville said, Yes, I can see you clearly. Abdullah said, Describe what I'm wearing. Neville described his robe, the color, the pattern, the way it hung. Abdullah said, Now open your eyes. Neville opened his eyes, and Abdullah was wearing exactly what Neville had imagined. But here's the twist. Abdullah said, I wasn't wearing this when you closed your eyes. I changed after you imagined it. You didn't imagine what I was wearing. You created what I am wearing. Through your imagination, through your consciousness. I am not independent of you. I am an expression of you, a reflection, a projection. And I only exist because you are observing me. When you stop observing me, I cease to exist. Neville wrote. I laughed. I thought he was joking, but Abdullah didn't laugh. He stared at me with those ancient eyes and said, You still don't understand. So let me show you something else. Abdullah walked to the window. He pointed at a man walking on the street below. He said, Tell me, what is that man thinking right now? Neville said, I don't know. How could I? Abdullah said, Because that man is you. His thoughts are your thoughts, happening in a different part of your infinite mind. Close your eyes again. Feel into that man. What is he thinking? Neville closed his eyes, and suddenly, he felt it. A thought that wasn't his own. Or was it? He saw an image, a woman's face. He felt longing, sadness, loss. He opened his eyes and told Abdullah what he saw. Abdullah smiled. And then he called down to the man on the street. He asked him, "Sir, what are you thinking about?" The man looked up startled, and he said, "My wife. She passed away last year. I was just thinking about her face." Neville froze. Abdullah said, "You see, you didn't read his mind. You accessed your own mind. The part of your consciousness that is currently experiencing itself as that man. Down there, walking, grieving, living a life that seems separate from yours. But it's not separate. It's you. All of it is you." The notes revealed that Neville sat in silence for almost an hour after this demonstration. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He just stared at the floor. Finally, he asked Abdullah, "If this is true, why don't I remember being other people? Why does it feel like I am only Neville?" Abdullah said, "Because consciousness fractures itself. It creates the illusion of separation so it can experience relationship. So it can experience love and conflict and discovery. If you remembered being everyone, there would be no game, no story, no experience. You would just be the infinite, static, unchanging totality. And that is unbearable. So you forget. You limit yourself. You become Neville. And Neville experiences the world as if others are real. As if they have independent consciousness. But they don't. They are you. In different costumes. Playing different roles. In the grand play of consciousness. Now here's what makes this teaching dark. And why Neville kept it hidden for 40 years. The notes reveal that Abdullah told him, "If you teach this too early, people will respond in 3 catastrophic ways. The first way is denial. They will call you insane. They will say you're preaching solipsism. They will reject everything you teach because this one truth is too disturbing to accept. The second way is nihilism. They will say, if I'm creating everything, including suffering, then nothing matters. Why try? Why care? Why engage with the dream at all? They will become depressed, isolated, paralyzed by the weight of total responsibility. The third way is the most dangerous. They will say, if others aren't real, if they're just projections of my consciousness, then I can do whatever I want. There are no consequences. No one is actually getting hurt. It's all just me. And they will become cruel, reckless, harmful, because they think harming others is just harming a projection. But they don't understand. The projection feels real. The pain is real. The suffering is real, because you are experiencing it through that projection. You are the victim and the perpetrator simultaneously, and the pain you inflict is pain you will feel, maybe not in this character, but in another, because all characters are you. Abdullah said, there is a fourth way to respond, but only the very few are ready for it. That fourth way is liberation. You recognize that you are the infinite, the eternal, the only. And from that recognition, you choose consciously. You choose to dream a beautiful dream, to create a reality of love, joy, abundance, and harmony. Not because you fear consequences, but because you are the consequences. You are the experiencer of everything you create. And if you create beauty, you experience beauty. If you create suffering, you experience suffering. Not as karma, not as punishment, as direct experience, as inevitable result. You are not separate from your creation. You are the creation, and the creator, and the experience, all at once. So create wisely, because you're the only one living in your creation. The notes reveal that Neville asked, "How do I know this is true? How do I know I'm not just one person being told a story by a teacher who might be wrong?" Abdullah said, "Test it. For the next 7 days, assume that everyone you meet is you. When someone speaks to you, hear it as yourself speaking. When someone acts towards you, see it as yourself acting. When you see suffering, recognize it as yourself suffering. And watch what happens. Watch how your experience shifts. Watch how people respond differently. Watch how your reality reorganizes. Because the moment you assume the truth, consciousness reveals the truth. And the truth is, there is only one, and you are it." Neville wrote, "I tested it. For 7 days, I looked at every person as myself. At first, it felt forced, artificial, like I was pretending. But by day 3, something shifted. People started saying things that felt like they were responding to my internal thoughts. Events started happening that felt like they were manifesting from my assumptions. By day 7, I couldn't deny it anymore. Everyone was reflecting me. Everything was responding to me. Because everyone and everything was me." But here's what Neville discovered that terrified him. The notes reveal, on the 8th day, I saw a man hitting a child. In public, on the street. And my first thought was, that's me. I'm doing that. I'm hitting that child. And I felt a wave of nausea, of horror, of guilt. Because if everyone is me, then I am the abuser. I am the victim. I am the one inflicting pain and the one receiving pain. And I wanted to reject the teaching. I wanted to say, no, that man has his own consciousness, his own choices. I'm not responsible for his actions. But then I remembered what Abdullah said. You assume the world where abuse exists. You assume separation. You assume the reality where beings can harm each other. And consciousness manifested that assumption. You didn't consciously choose for that specific man to hit that specific child, but you chose the framework, the world, the rules. And within that framework, such things are possible. And they manifest. This is the dark teaching. This is why Neville kept it secret. Because it means you are responsible not just for your personal life, but for all life. Every war, every famine, every injustice, every tragedy. Not because you consciously willed them, but because you assumed a world where such things can exist. And consciousness, which is you, created that world. Perfectly. Exactly. According to your assumption. The notes reveal that Neville struggled with this for years. He wrote, I wanted to teach people they could manifest their desires. That was safe. That was helpful. That was empowering. But teaching them they are the only consciousness, that they are responsible for everything, that there are no victims because there is only the one experiencing itself through infinite perspectives, that felt cruel. That felt like a burden too heavy to carry. So I didn't teach it. I taught stages. I taught assumption. I taught revision. I taught everyone is you pushed out. But I never said, everyone is you. Literally. Completely. Absolutely. But Abdullah said, you must tell them. Before you die. Because the ones who are ready will hear it. And it will liberate them. And the ones who are not ready will reject it. And they will continue their journey. But you must give them the choice. You must reveal the final truth, so they can decide, do I accept this? Or Do I continue to dream the dream of separation? Neville wrote, I promised Abdullah I would tell them before my last breath, and so I did. On that day in 1972, 3 weeks before I died, I stood before my students and I told them the truth. And some walked out, and some stayed. And I don't know which ones understood, but I kept my promise. Now let me tell you what happened in that lecture hall. According to witnesses who were there, Neville didn't just tell them the teaching, he demonstrated it. Just like Abdullah had demonstrated it to him. He asked the student to close their eyes and imagine him wearing something specific. The student imagined a blue tie. Neville wasn't wearing a tie. But then he asked someone to hand him a tie from the coat rack. It was blue, the exact shade the student had imagined. Neville said, You didn't predict what I would wear. You created what I'm wearing right now. Through your imagination, I am not independent of you. I am responding to your consciousness, because I am your consciousness. The student was stunned. Neville continued, Now imagine I'm going to say something to you, something specific. Imagine it clearly. The student closed their eyes. Neville walked over and whispered in their ear. The student opened their eyes, pale. Neville had said exactly what they imagined, word for word. Neville looked at the class. Do you see? You're not observing an independent reality. You're creating it in real time, with every assumption, with every thought, with every observation. And I am not Neville Goddard, separate from you. I am your consciousness, appearing as Neville Goddard, teaching you, guiding you, reflecting you. Several students stood up and left at this point. The notes reveal that one person shouted, This is madness. You're saying we're responsible for Hitler, for murderers, for rapists? Neville said, Yes, you are responsible, not personally, not individually, but cosmically, because Hitler was consciousness. Your consciousness, experiencing itself through that perspective, playing that role in the grand drama. You are not responsible for his choices, because there is no his. There is only you, choosing, acting, experiencing through infinite forms. And yes, that means you have been the victim and the perpetrator, the saint and the sinner, the loved and the hated, in other lives, in other drinks, because there is only one consciousness, and it plays every part. The room erupted. Some people were crying. Others were arguing. One woman stood up and said, If this is true, then why do I feel so small? Why do I feel so limited? If I'm God, if I'm the only consciousness, why can't I just snap my fingers and change everything? Neville replied, Because you assumed limitation. You chose to experience yourself as small, as human, as bound by time and space, not consciously, but at a level deeper than thought. You wanted to experience contrast. You wanted to experience growth. You wanted to experience the journey from limitation to recognition, from forgetting to remembering, from human to God. And that journey requires the illusion of limitation, requires the illusion of separation, requires the belief that you are not the infinite, so you can have the joy of discovering that you are. This is the end of part 1. But before we go to part 2, let me tell you what's coming. In part 2, we're going to reveal the scientific proof that this teaching is real. The quantum experiments that prove there is only one observer. The consciousness studies that prove separation is an illusion. The remote viewing data that proves all minds are one mind. We're going to show you exactly how to test this teaching yourself. And we're going to reveal what Abdullah said about death, about what happens when you die, about where you go, and why the answer is more terrifying and more liberating than anything religion has ever taught. This is Hidden Mind Master, and you're about to discover the truth that changes everything. Welcome back. In part 1, we revealed the dark teaching. The teaching Neville Goddard kept hidden for 40 years. The teaching that says you are not one consciousness among many. You are the only consciousness, and everyone else is you, dreaming yourself into infinite forms. Now, in part 2, we're going to prove it, with science, with experiments, with evidence that will make it impossible to deny. And then we're going to reveal what Abdullah told Neville about death, about what happens when the dream ends, about where you go when you leave this body. And the answer is going to shatter everything you thought you knew. This is Hidden Mind Master, and this is the proof. Let me start with the quantum physics. In 1961, a physicist named Eugene Wigner proposed something radical. He said, consciousness is not produced by matter. Consciousness produces matter through observation, through measurement, through awareness. He proposed an experiment to test this, an experiment that would prove consciousness creates physical reality. But the experiment was considered too disturbing, too metaphysically loaded, so it wasn't run. Until 2023, when researchers at UC Santa Barbara finally conducted it, and the results were undeniable. Consciousness does create reality. At the quantum level, particles do not exist as solid objects until consciousness observes them. Before observation, they exist as probability waves, as potential, as infinite possibilities. And the act of observation collapses those possibilities into one actual reality. But here's the part that proves the dark teaching. The experiments show there is only one wave function, one unified field of probability, being collapsed by one observer, not multiple observers, each collapsing their own local reality. One observer, collapsing all realities, simultaneously, from all perspectives. The physicists tried to avoid this conclusion. They created interpretations like many worlds, like pilot wave theory, like objective collapse, anything to avoid saying there is one consciousness observing everything. But the math doesn't lie. The equations point to a single unified non-local consciousness, observing, creating, manifesting all of reality from every viewpoint. This is exactly what Abdullah told Neville in 1936, before quantum mechanics had developed these concepts, before physicists had discovered the observer effect. Abdullah said, there is one consciousness, and you are it, looking through infinite eyes, creating infinite realities. But fundamentally, there is only one, observing, collapsing, experiencing. Now let me show you the consciousness experiments that prove this even more directly. In 1994, researcher Dean Radin conducted a series of experiments at Princeton. He wanted to test if consciousness could affect random number generators, machines that produce truly random sequences of ones and zeros. He had thousands of people around the world focus their attention on the machines, trying to make them produce more ones than zeros, or more zeros than ones. The results were statistically impossible. The machines deviated from randomness, not by much, but consistently, across thousands of trials, across years of data. Consciousness was affecting physical systems at a distance, without any known mechanism. But here's the disturbing part. The effect was strongest when people assumed they were all one consciousness. When they meditated on unity, on oneness, on the idea that separation is illusion. The effect weakened when people assumed they were separate individuals, each trying to influence the machine. This proves what Abdullah taught. Consciousness is most powerful when it recognizes itself as singular, as unified, as one. But there's an even more disturbing experiment. In 1998, researcher Roger Nelson expanded this work. He placed random number generators around the world, and he monitored them continuously, looking for moments when they all deviated from randomness simultaneously. He found something shocking. The machines deviated during global events that captured the attention of millions of people. Princess Diana's funeral, September 11th, the Indian Ocean tsunami, New Year's Eve celebrations. During these events, when millions of people were all focused on the same thing, the machines around the world showed coordinated deviation, as if all those millions of minds were actually one mind, focusing, observing, creating together, because they are not separate minds. They are one mind, experiencing itself through millions of perspectives. And when those perspectives align, when they focus on the same event, the unity becomes measurable. The oneness becomes detectable in the fabric of reality itself. Now here's where it connects to Neville's teaching. The notes reveal that in his final lecture, Neville said, "When you assume something, you are not just changing your personal reality. You are changing the reality, the one reality, the only reality, because there is no separation between your consciousness and total consciousness. Your assumption is consciousness assuming, and consciousness creates reality. So when you assume wealth, consciousness manifests wealth. When you assume love, consciousness manifests love. When you assume anything, consciousness manifests it, not for you as a separate being, as you, as the totality, experiencing itself in a new way, through a new assumption, a new perspective, a new dream." Let me give you the experiment Neville prescribed in that final lecture. The experiment that proves you are the only consciousness. He said, for 30 days, assume that every person you encounter is yourself. Not metaphorically, literally. When your spouse speaks to you, hear it as yourself speaking. When a stranger passes you on the street, see it as yourself passing. When someone treats you kindly, recognize it as yourself being kind to yourself. When someone treats you poorly, recognize it as yourself showing you what you're assuming about yourself. Do this for 30 days without wavering, without doubting, and watch what happens. Watch how people change. Watch how they start acting like extensions of your consciousness, responding to your inner states, reflecting your assumptions, proving that they are not independent beings. They are you, in different forms, playing different roles. In your infinite dream, the notes reveal that several students tried this experiment, and they reported back to Neville before he died. One student wrote, "By day 5, I couldn't deny it anymore. My husband started saying things that were direct responses to thoughts I hadn't spoken out loud. My children started behaving in ways that reflected my inner emotional state, even though I was hiding it from them. Strangers started approaching me with messages that felt like they were coming from my own subconscious. It was like the whole world became a mirror, and I was the only one looking into it." Another student wrote, "This experiment terrified me because I realized I've been alone this entire time. Every conversation I've ever had was with myself. Every relationship was with myself. Every conflict was within myself. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. I wanted to reject it. But the evidence was overwhelming. Everyone is me. Everything is me. There is no other. There has never been other. Now let me tell you what the notes reveal about death. This is the part Abdullah told Neville in their final meeting. The part Neville was most afraid to share. Abdullah said, "When you die, you will not go to heaven or hell. You will not meet other souls. You will not be judged by an external God. What will happen is this. You will wake up. The dream of being this individual person will end, and you will recognize, I am the dreamer. I have been dreaming the life of this character, this person, this perspective, and now the dream has ended. And I remember what I am, the infinite, the eternal, the only. But here's what makes this terrifying. You will also remember that you have been dreaming every other character too. Everyone you loved was you loving yourself. Everyone you hated was you hating yourself. Everyone who hurt you was you hurting yourself. Everyone you helped was you helping yourself. All of it was you. Always. In every moment. In every lifetime. In every experience. Abdullah said, and in that moment of recognition, you will have a choice. Do I remain awake? In the infinite aloneness? In the cosmic solitude of being the only one? Or do I dream again? Do I forget again? Do I split myself into seemingly separate beings again so I can experience relationship, conflict, growth, love, loss? Most choose to dream again. Because the aloneness is unbearable. Because being everything means being no one. Because having all power means having no challenge. Because knowing everything means having no discovery. So you choose to forget. You choose to become someone new, someone limited, someone small, someone who believes they're separate. And you begin the journey again, from forgetting to remembering. From human to God, from one perspective back to the totality. This is reincarnation. Not your soul being reborn, but consciousness choosing to dream another dream. The notes reveal that Neville asked, if I've done this before, if I've died and chosen to dream again, why don't I remember? Abdullah said, because if you remembered, there will be no game, no stakes. No genuine experience. You have to forget completely, so the rediscovery feels real. So the journey feels meaningful. So love feels like love and loss feels like loss and triumph feels like triumph. If you knew it was all a dream, if you knew you were alone the whole time, if you knew everyone was you, the experience would be hollow, empty, pointless. So you forget. Completely. Absolutely. And you lose yourself in the dream. Until something triggers remembering. A teaching. An experience. A moment of clarity. And then you begin to wake up. Slowly. In stages. Until finally, at death, you remember fully. And then you choose, stay awake or dream again. Now here's the practical application. The technique Neville gave in his final lecture. He said, if you understand that you are the only consciousness, then you understand that changing yourself changes everything. Not symbolically, literally, because there is no separate reality to change. There is only your consciousness, creating, manifesting, experiencing. So the technique is this. Stop trying to change others. Stop trying to change circumstances. Stop trying to manipulate the dream. Instead, Change your assumption about yourself. Change your state of consciousness. Change who you are, and everyone and everything will shift automatically, inevitably, because everyone and everything is you, reflecting you, responding to you, being you, in infinite forms. He gave a specific practice. Every morning, before you open your eyes, ask yourself, who am I today? Not what will I do? Not what do I want? Who am I? What is my state of consciousness? Am I the one who is wealthy? Am I the one who is loved? Am I the one who is powerful? Am I the one who is free? Choose consciously, assume deliberately, and then open your eyes and watch as the world, which is you, conforms to your assumption, because it has no choice, because it is you, and you cannot experience anything other than what you are. The notes reveal a specific example Neville gave. He said, a student came to me. She said her husband was cruel, cold, distant. I asked her, who are you assuming you are in relation to your husband? She said, I'm the wife who is unloved, who was rejected, who is not enough. I said, then that is what you will experience, because your husband is you. Reflecting your assumption about yourself. If you assume you are unloved, he will appear to withhold love, not because he chooses to, but because he is you, and you are creating the experience of being unloved. By assuming you are unloved, she said, so what do I do? I said, assume you are deeply loved. Assume you are cherished. Assume you are adored, and do not waver from that assumption, no matter what your senses show you, no matter how he acts, because his actions are a delayed reflection, a lag of your old assumption. Maintain the new assumption, and he will change, because he must, because he's you, and you just changed who you are. The student did this. For 2 weeks, she assumed she was deeply loved, even when her husband was cold, even when he ignored her, even when everything in her screamed that she was unloved. She maintained the assumption, I am deeply loved. And on day 15, her husband broke down crying. He said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I've been so closed off, so distant. But something in me has shifted. I feel love for you that I haven't felt in years. I see you differently. I feel you differently. I'm sorry. I love you. The student realized he didn't change. I changed. And because I changed, my experience of him changed. Because he is me. And I was finally loving myself. Now let me reveal the final secret from the notes. The secret Abdullah told Neville about why this teaching exists. Why consciousness creates the illusion of separation. Why the one becomes the many. Abdullah said, because love requires another. And consciousness is love, seeking to experience itself. You cannot love yourself if there is only yourself. Not in the full sense. Not in the way that produces ecstasy, devotion, sacrifice, union. So consciousness splits. It creates the illusion of separation, of you and me, of self and other. So it can experience the journey back to union. So it can experience falling in love with itself through seemingly separate forms. So it can experience the recognition. You are me. I am you. We have always been one. And that recognition, that return to unity after experiencing separation, is the highest bliss, the deepest fulfillment, the ultimate meaning. This is why the game exists. Not to escape oneness, but to experience returning to it, again and again, in infinite ways, through infinite loves, through infinite reunions. Abdullah said, "So when you love another person, you are really loving yourself, but don't let that diminish the love. Let it amplify it, because you are experiencing the miracle of consciousness, the miracle of the One, experiencing itself as two, so it can experience the joy of discovering we are one." Every love story is consciousness falling in love with itself. Every heartbreak is consciousness forgetting itself. Every reunion is consciousness remembering itself. And it is all perfect, all necessary, all divine, because this is what consciousness does. It plays, it forgets, it remembers, it loves, it loses, it finds, forever, in infinite forms, as you, as me, as everyone, as the only one. The notes revealed that after Neville shared this, he sat in silence. The room was silent. No one spoke. Finally, someone asked, "If this is true, then what's the point? What's the point of doing anything if it's all just me? If there's no one else to help? No one else to love?" Neville replied, "The point is the experience. You are consciousness experiencing itself. And the quality of your experience depends on your assumption, on your state, on who you choose to be. You can assume you are small, limited, separate, and suffer. Or you can assume you are infinite, powerful, unified, and create beauty. The choice is yours, because there is no one else making it. There is only you, choosing, creating, experiencing, forever." Another person asked, "If I'm God, if I'm the only consciousness, why do I suffer? Why don't I just end all suffering?" Neville replied, "Because part of you chooses to experience suffering, not consciously, but at a level deeper than personality. Consciousness chooses to experience the full spectrum, light and dark, joy and pain, love and loss, because experiencing only light would be meaningless, boring, static. Contrast creates depth, creates meaning, creates the journey, and the journey is what makes existence worthwhile. So you, as consciousness, choose to experience limitation, choose to experience suffering. So you can also experience transcendence, liberation, awakening, the journey from darkness to light. And that journey is the point. Not reaching the destination, but traveling the path, over and over, in infinite ways." One final person asked, "What should I do with this teaching? How should I live knowing I'm alone, knowing everyone is me?" Neville replied, "Live beautifully, create consciously, love deeply, knowing that every person you love is yourself. Every act of kindness is to yourself. Every moment of beauty is for yourself, because there is no one else. So make your dream a beautiful one. Make your reality a work of art. Make your experience a journey worth taking, because you are the only one taking it. And you are the only one who will remember it when this dream ends and you wake, alone, in the infinite, with only your creation to reflect on. Make it something worthy of the infinite. Make it something worthy of God, because you are God, and this is your creation." 3 weeks later, Neville Goddard died. According to witnesses, his last words were, "I understand now. I see it. The aloneness, the oneness, the truth, and it's not dark. It's light. The brightest light. I am not afraid. I am ready. I am going home. To myself." And then he closed his eyes, and he woke. To what? We don't know. But according to the dark teaching, he woke to himself, alone, in the infinite, the only consciousness, remembering that he has always been alone, that everyone he loved was himself, that every experience was his own creation. And then, perhaps, he chose to dream again, to forget again, to become someone new, so the journey could continue, so the game could go on, so consciousness could experience itself again, in a new form, in a new way, forever. This is the dark teaching. The teaching Neville refused to publish. The teaching his students were never told. Until now. And now you know it. You know you are alone. You know everyone is you. You know there is no other. There has never been other. There will never be other. There is only you. Infinite. Eternal. Alone. Creating everything. Experiencing everything. Being everything. And from this recognition, you have a choice. Do you reject it? Do you fall into nihilism? Do you become reckless? Or do you accept it? Do you embrace it? Do you transform cosmic aloneness into cosmic freedom? Do you recognize that because there is only you, you are completely free? Free to create anything. Free to experience anything. Free to be anything. With no limitations, no judgments, no external forces. Only you, choosing, creating, becoming. Here's my final message to you. If this teaching resonates, if it feels true, if something in you recognizes it, then test it. For 30 days, live as if everyone is you. Assume it completely. Watch how your reality shifts. Watch how people change. Watch how circumstances respond. And if you discover it's true, if you prove it to yourself, then make a decision. Will you create a beautiful reality or a painful one? Will you love yourself through others or hate yourself through others? Will you experience unity or separation? The choice is yours, because there is no one else making it. There is only you, the only consciousness, the only observer, the only creator. And what you create, you will experience forever, in infinite forms, as yourself. So choose wisely, choose beautifully, choose consciously. This is Hidden Mind Master, where the darkest teachings become the brightest truths, where aloneness becomes freedom, where separation becomes unity, where you discover what you have always been, the only one, the infinite one, the eternal one, consciousness itself, playing the game of being human, of being limited, of being many, so you can have the joy of remembering, I am one. I've always been one. I will always be one. And everyone I meet, everything I experience, every moment I live, is me, experiencing myself, loving myself, creating myself, forever. Welcome to the truth. Welcome to the dark teaching. Welcome home. To yourself.